Ladies and gentlemen, love yourself first, not because the world failed to love you, but because you deserve it even when the world does not understand you. Many times we wait for someone to choose us, appreciate us, or save us. But life teaches us a quiet lesson. The day you choose yourself, everything begins to change. Loving yourself is choosing yourself without guilt, and this is one of the hardest things a human being ever learns. From a young age, we are taught to please others, to be available, to adjust, to stay quiet so no one feels uncomfortable. Slowly, without realizing it, we learn to put ourselves last. We start believing that choosing ourselves is selfish, that saying no is rude, that taking a break is weakness. We carry guilt for resting, guilt for setting boundaries, guilt for walking away, guilt for not being everything for everyone. Over time, this guilt becomes so normal that we forget how heavy it is, until one day our heart feels tired for no clear reason. Choosing yourself does not mean you stop loving others. It means you stop abandoning yourself to earn love. It means you listen to your inner voice when it whispers that something is not right. It means you honor your limits instead of crossing them again and again just to keep people comfortable. Many people stay in places that drain them, conversations that hurt them, and relationships that break them slowly, only because they feel guilty leaving. They forget that staying where you are not respected also costs something. It costs your peace, your confidence, your joy. Guilt often comes when you grow. When you begin to change, when you start protecting your time, your energy, and your mental space, some people will not like it. Not because you are wrong, but because they were benefiting from your silence and sacrifice. Loving yourself means accepting that not everyone will understand your choices, and that understanding is not required for your healing. You do not need to explain your boundaries to people who never respected them in the first place. There are moments when choosing yourself feels lonely. When you stop overgiving, some people disappear. When you stop chasing, some connections fade. This can hurt deeply, but it also reveals the truth. Anyone who only stays when you are emptying yourself was never there for you. They were there for what you provided. Loving yourself is learning to sit with that loneliness without running back to old patterns just to feel needed. Choosing yourself without guilt also means forgiving yourself for past choices, for staying too long, trusting too much, ignoring red flags, or doubting your own worth. You were not weak, you were hopeful. You were not foolish, you were trying to survive with the tools you had. Self-love grows when you stop punishing yourself for lessons that were necessary for your growth. Sometimes choosing yourself is as simple as resting when your body asks for rest, speaking up when something hurts, or saying no without giving long explanations. Sometimes it is walking away from what once felt like home, because it no longer feels safe. Sometimes it is starting again, even when you are scared, even when you feel late, even when others question your path. Loving yourself without guilt is a quiet courage. It is choosing peace over approval, truth over comfort, and self-respect over fear of loss. It is understanding that your needs matter, your feelings are valid, and your life is not meant to be lived on pause for others. It is waking up one day and realizing that you deserve the same kindness you give so freely to everyone else, and slowly learning to give it to yourself, even when it feels unfamiliar, even when your hands shake, even when the guilt tries to pull you back into old versions of yourself. You don't need permission to value your own heart, yet most people live as if they do. From the beginning, we are conditioned to seek approval before we trust our feelings. We look around to see if it is acceptable to feel hurt, to feel tired, to feel proud of ourselves. If others agree, we allow it. If they don't, we silence ourselves. Slowly, the heart learns to wait not for healing, but for validation, and this waiting becomes a habit that disconnects us from our own truth. Valuing your heart means listening to it even when no one else does. It means accepting your emotions without judging them as too much or too weak. Many people learn to doubt their feelings because they were told they were overreacting, being sensitive, or making things difficult. Over time, this teaches the heart to shrink, to stay quiet, to hide its pain behind smiles. But feelings do not disappear when ignored. They settle deeper, shaping the way we see ourselves and the world. When you stop asking for permission, you begin to trust your inner voice. You start believing that your discomfort is a signal, not a flaw. You understand that pain is not something to be compared or dismissed. Just because someone else has it worse does not mean your struggle is invalid. Your heart carries your story, and no one else has lived it the way you have. Valuing it is an act of honesty with yourself. Many people stay in situations that hurt them because they are waiting for someone else to confirm that it is okay to leave. They wait for a sign, a message, an apology that may never come. In the process, they silence their own needs. Valuing your heart means recognizing that you are allowed to walk away without a dramatic reason. Peace does not need to be justified, and self-respect does not require permission. There is fear attached to valuing your heart, fear of being misunderstood, labeled, or judged. Society often praises sacrifice more than self-awareness. People are celebrated for enduring pain silently, not for choosing themselves. This creates a false belief that suffering is proof of strength. But true strength is listening to yourself before the damage becomes permanent. Valuing your heart also means allowing it to change. The things that once felt right may no longer fit who you are becoming. Growth often feels like betrayal to others, but it is loyalty to yourself. You are allowed to outgrow spaces, roles, and expectations that no longer align with your inner truth. You do not owe consistency to anyone at the cost of your well-being. When you stop seeking permission, you stop explaining yourself endlessly. You stop defending your feelings to people who never tried to understand them. You learn that not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Some people only listen to respond, not to care. Valuing your heart includes protecting it from places where it is constantly questioned or minimized. This journey is not loud. It does not always come with confidence or clarity. Sometimes it begins with quiet discomfort, a feeling that something is off. Sometimes it is a tear you cannot explain, or a heaviness that stays longer than it should. Valuing your heart means honoring these signals instead of ignoring them. It means choosing self-trust over external approval, even when that choice feels uncomfortable, unfamiliar, and lonely at first. Self-love begins where self-blame ends, yet many people live trapped in a cycle of blaming themselves for everything that goes wrong. When something breaks, when a relationship fails, when a dream does not work out, the first instinct is often to look inward and accuse the heart of not being enough. We replay old moments in our minds, questioning every word we said, every decision we made, believing that if we had been different, things would have turned out better. Over time, this habit of self-blame becomes a quiet form of punishment that we carry without realizing how deeply it shapes our identity. Self-blame often starts as a way to make sense of pain. When life feels out of control, blaming yourself can feel safer than accepting that some things were never in your hands. It gives an illusion of control, as if hurting yourself emotionally could somehow rewrite the past. But this kind of thinking slowly erodes self-trust. Instead of learning from experiences, you start condemning yourself for them. Growth turns into shame, and lessons turn into labels you attach to your worth. Ending self-blame does not mean avoiding responsibility. It means separating mistakes from identity. You can acknowledge where you went wrong without believing that you are wrong as a person. Many people confuse accountability with self-criticism, thinking they must be harsh to improve. In reality, cruelty never creates healing. Compassion is what allows honest reflection without destroying the spirit. There are wounds that were not created by your choices, but by circumstances, by other people's limitations, by environments that did not know how to hold you. Yet the mind keeps asking why you stayed, why you trusted, why you didn't see it coming. These questions assume you had clarity you only gained later. Self-love grows when you accept that you made decisions based on what you knew then, not what you know now. Letting go of self-blame also means releasing unrealistic expectations. Many people carry guilt for not being strong all the time, for needing help, for feeling tired. They compare themselves to an ideal version they never allowed to be human. This comparison creates constant disappointment. When you stop blaming yourself for being human, you make space for gentleness. You allow rest without guilt and effort without punishment. The voice of self-blame is often learned. It echoes words you once heard from others, criticism that was repeated until it felt like truth. Over time, it becomes familiar, even comforting, because it feels known. Ending self-blame requires noticing this voice and questioning it. Not every thought deserves belief. Some thoughts are just old habits asking for attention. Self-love begins when you replace harsh judgment with understanding. Instead of asking what is wrong with you, you ask what happened to you. This shift changes everything. It turns shame into curiosity and pain into awareness. You begin to see your reactions not as flaws, but as responses to experiences that shaped you. As self-blame loosens its grip, you start trusting yourself again. You stop living in constant apology to your past. You learn that healing does not require you to punish yourself into becoming better. It asks you to forgive the versions of you that were trying to survive, even when they made imperfect choices, even when they failed, even when they didn't know how to protect themselves yet. Protecting your peace is not weakness, it is wisdom, yet many people are taught the opposite. They are taught that endurance is strength, that staying quiet is maturity, and that tolerating discomfort is a sign of good character. Over time, this belief convinces people to stay in situations that slowly drain them, relationships that confuse them, and environments that silence their voice. They mistake survival for strength and exhaustion for loyalty. Peace is often misunderstood as something soft or passive, but it requires awareness and courage. Protecting your peace means recognizing when something feels wrong and choosing not to ignore it. It means noticing the tightness in your chest, the constant fatigue, the heaviness that follows certain interactions. These are not signs of weakness, they are signals asking to be respected. Many people fear that choosing peace will make them look selfish or uncaring. They worry about being judged, misunderstood, or labeled as difficult, so they continue to explain themselves, overextend, and accept behavior that hurts them. What they do not realize is that every time they silence their discomfort, they teach others how to treat them. Peace is not taken from you in one moment. It is given away in small compromises made repeatedly. Protecting your peace sometimes requires saying no without long explanations. It means setting boundaries even when your voice shakes. It means choosing distance when closeness costs too much. Some people will not understand your boundaries because they benefited from you having none. This does not make your boundaries wrong. It confirms why they are necessary. There is also wisdom in knowing when to disengage. Not every argument needs a response. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Some battles are won by walking away. Protecting your peace means understanding that your energy is limited and valuable. Where you place it matters more than proving a point or being right. Wisdom teaches you that constant chaos is not normal, even if it feels familiar. Some people grow up in environments where conflict is common, where calm feels uncomfortable. They confuse peace with boredom and drama with connection. Learning to protect your peace means retraining yourself to choose calm, even when it feels unfamiliar at first. This choice can feel lonely. When you stop participating in unnecessary conflict, some connections weaken. When you stop reacting, some people lose interest, but peace reveals who values you beyond your reactions. It shows you who respects your silence as much as your presence. Protecting your peace also means letting go of guilt. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions at the cost of your mental health. You are allowed to choose rest, quiet, and simplicity. You are allowed to prioritize yourself without justifying it to everyone around you. Wisdom is knowing that peace is not something you find after everything is fixed. It is something you choose even when life is messy, even when answers are unclear, even when others disagree. Protecting your peace is choosing yourself in small, consistent ways, trusting that calm is not weakness, but clarity in its purest form. You are worthy even on days you feel broken, yet those are often the days when doubt speaks the loudest. When things fall apart, when plans fail, when your energy disappears, it becomes easy to believe that your value has somehow decreased. Society quietly teaches that worth is tied to productivity, strength, and success. So when you are tired, hurting, or struggling, you start questioning your place, your importance, and your right to take up space. Feeling broken does not mean you are damaged beyond repair. It means you are human, responding to pressure, loss, or disappointment. Everyone carries invisible cracks, moments where life felt heavier than expected. But instead of treating these moments with kindness, many people punish themselves for them. They push harder, ignore pain, and pretend to be okay because they fear being seen as weak or burdensome. Worth is not something that disappears when you fall apart. It does not leave you when you cry, rest, or slow down. Your value existed before your achievements and remains even when you feel lost. The days you feel broken are often the days you need compassion the most, yet those are the days you deny it to yourself. You speak harshly, compare yourself to others, and demand strength when what you really need is understanding. There is a quiet bravery in allowing yourself to feel without judgment. Many people try to fix themselves immediately when something hurts, as if pain is a flaw that needs to be corrected. But some wounds require presence, not pressure. They require you to sit with yourself gently, to acknowledge what hurts without rushing the process. Healing does not follow a schedule, and worth does not depend on how quickly you recover. Broken days often carry lessons that strong days never teach. They reveal your limits, your needs, and your resilience. They show you where you have been overgiving, where you have been neglecting yourself, where something in your life needs attention. These days are not failures, they are messages. Ignoring them only deepens the fracture, while listening to them creates space for growth. Comparisons make broken days feel heavier. When you look around and see others moving forward, smiling, achieving, you assume they are whole while you are falling behind. But everyone has hidden battles. Some people are just better at hiding their pain. Your journey is not less valid because it looks different. Being broken does not mean you are weak. It means you are processing something real. On broken days, self-worth becomes a choice. It is choosing not to abandon yourself when things feel messy. It is choosing rest without guilt, softness without apology. It is reminding yourself that you are allowed to take breaks, ask for help, and move at your own pace. Strength does not always look like pushing through. Sometimes it looks like pausing. You are worthy even when you feel unmotivated, confused, or overwhelmed. Your heart does not lose its value because it is tired. Your existence is not conditional on how well you perform or how strong you appear. Broken days are not the opposite of growth. They are part of it. They shape you quietly, teaching patience, empathy, and self-awareness, even when progress feels invisible. Stop waiting for others to see your value, because the longer you wait, the more you delay your own life. Many people live quietly hoping someone will notice their effort, their loyalty, their pain, or their potential. They work harder, give more, stay longer, and tolerate more than they should, believing that one day they will be appreciated. This waiting slowly turns into exhaustion, because validation from others is uncertain and often temporary. When you depend on others to recognize your worth, you place your identity in their hands. Their opinions begin to shape how you see yourself. On days they praise you, you feel confident. On days they ignore you, you question everything. This emotional dependency creates instability, because your value should not rise and fall based on someone else's awareness or mood. People are often distracted by their own struggles, limitations, and perspectives. Their inability to see you clearly does not mean you lack value. Many people stay in environments where they are overlooked, hoping consistency will eventually earn recognition. They stay silent when disrespected, believing patience will be rewarded, but silence often teaches others that your needs can be ignored. Respect is not something you earn by suffering quietly. It begins when you recognize your own worth and act in alignment with it. Waiting for validation can keep you stuck in roles that no longer fit you. You may continue to shrink, dim your light, or lower your standards to remain accepted. Over time, this creates resentment not only toward others but toward yourself. You start questioning why you stayed, why you accepted less, why you abandoned your own needs. The pain of not being seen eventually becomes heavier than the fear of being misunderstood. Seeing your own value requires honesty. It means acknowledging your strengths without minimizing them. Many people struggle with this because they were taught that self-recognition is arrogance. But there is a difference between confidence and ego. Confidence is quiet awareness of your worth, while ego is loud insecurity seeking approval. When you stop waiting for others, you begin to stand on internal certainty instead of external praise. Some people will never see your value, not because it isn't there, but because it challenges their own insecurities or comfort. Your growth may threaten their sense of control. Your boundaries may disrupt what they are used to. Understanding this helps you release the need for their validation. Not everyone is meant to witness your full potential, and that is okay. When you recognize your own worth, your choices change. You stop chasing attention and start choosing alignment. You walk away from spaces that consistently overlook you. You speak up when something feels wrong. You invest your energy where it is respected. This shift does not make you cold or distant. It makes you honest. There is freedom in no longer waiting. Freedom in doing things because they matter to you, not because they might impress someone else. Freedom in resting without guilt, celebrating yourself quietly, and trusting your own judgment. The moment you stop waiting to be seen, you begin to live more fully, guided by self-respect rather than hope for approval. Healing starts when you speak kindly to yourself, yet for many people the inner voice is the harshest one they know. Long after painful moments pass, the words remain. They repeat in the mind, pointing out flaws, replaying mistakes, and questioning worth. This voice often sounds familiar because it was shaped by past experiences, criticism, and expectations. Over time, it becomes normal, even believable, despite how damaging it is. The way you speak to yourself shapes how you heal. Harsh words do not create strength, they create fear. When you constantly criticize yourself, your mind stays in survival mode. It becomes difficult to rest, trust, or grow because you are always defending yourself from your own thoughts. Kindness, on the other hand, creates safety. It tells the nervous system that it is allowed to soften, to pause, to process. Speaking kindly to yourself does not mean ignoring reality or avoiding responsibility. It means choosing understanding over punishment. You can acknowledge mistakes without attacking your character. You can notice patterns without labeling yourself as broken. Kindness allows honesty without shame. It opens space for learning instead of closing it with fear. Many people believe they must be hard on themselves to improve. They think self-criticism will push them forward. In truth, it often freezes them. Fear of failure becomes fear of trying. The inner voice becomes so loud that action feels heavy. When you shift that voice from judgment to encouragement, even gently, your body responds differently. Effort feels possible again. Kind self-talk often feels uncomfortable at first. If you are used to criticism, kindness can feel fake or undeserved. You may question it, resist it, or feel guilty for it. This discomfort does not mean it is wrong. It means you are learning a new language. Just like any habit, it takes time and repetition. Small changes matter. Replacing one harsh thought with a neutral or gentle one can slowly change the tone of your inner world. Healing also involves noticing when your inner voice becomes cruel during moments of vulnerability. When you are tired, hurt, or overwhelmed, the criticism often intensifies. This is when kindness is needed most. Instead of demanding strength, you offer patience. Instead of asking why you are like this, you remind yourself that you are allowed to struggle. The words you use internally affect how you treat others as well. When you soften toward yourself, you become more understanding toward the world. You stop projecting judgment onto people around you. Compassion begins inside and flows outward. Healing becomes less about fixing and more about accepting. Speaking kindly to yourself is not about constant positivity. It is about honesty with care. It is saying this is hard without adding blame. It is allowing emotions without calling them weakness. It is giving yourself the same grace you would offer someone you love who is hurting. Over time, the inner voice becomes a source of support rather than pressure. You begin to trust yourself more. You feel safer taking risks, resting when needed, and acknowledging pain without fear of self-punishment. Healing does not happen in silence or shame.